I would have entered a couple different July-August camps, including the robotics camp. And when that was way too short for me to have enough fun, I went to the robotics club, which they actually hosted. My memories of NIHERST start from way back when I was probably in infants 1 or 2, because we'd always look forward to taking field trips, and that really inspired me to continue coming to camps and coming to events that NIHERST was hosting. After that, I would have entered a couple different July-August camps, including the robotics camp. And when that was way too short for me to have enough fun, I went to the robotics club, which they actually hosted. I would have been around 11, 12 years old at that time. After that, I continued. Even though the club eventually finished, I also invited friends from my school or met new friends along the way when I went to other camps, including the App Builder camp and the IEEE Electronics camp. And even after I left school during COVID, I participated in the COVID Creativity Challenge that NIHERST was hosting virtually. I have to say the first reason was absolutely because they were fun. You don't think about the education part as in a sit-down classroom thing. You think about going to the NIHERST Science Center, going to the club and being able to learn in a hands-on way, being able to have a free-form experience. I continued because I saw the value that STEM education presented in that way presented to me, because I realized that a lot of the things I was learning at NIHERST Science Center, I wouldn't learn for another couple of years at secondary school. So I continued with clubs to explore my interests, to broaden my horizons in terms of my knowledge, in terms of my career, and to meet like-minded people my age and to meet mentors that could help me as I wanted to progress my studies. Well, I think the main difference was just when I learned the material that I learned. I've gone to other coding camps and done other programs since NIHERST and realized that people twice my age were learning things that I'd already learned at NIHERST when I was younger. And I wasn't just learning it in a classroom setting, I wasn't just learning it the same way you'd learn it on an online program that you can take at any time. I had a lot of support, both in terms of having physical resources that I can actually use, interact with, and have fun with, and having mentors that were much more knowledgeable in the field. Now, in terms of defining moment, I really wouldn't say that I had any. My entire journey has been made up of many small, important moments. And of course, going to clubs and camps, being exposed to coding and robotics, and all of the ways that I can apply those things in my life have been a part of them. In terms of the next 10 years, I know I definitely want to be living in Trinidad and I want to be involved in community development and bring my unique STEM skills to the table whenever I can. That might be in STEM education, that might be in humanitarian engineering, that might be in environmental preservation or other aspects of protecting our surroundings. But I think especially in the 21st century in a very volatile environment, it's hard to set out the next 10 years, the next 20 years of your life, only thinking about yourself. We live in a very interconnected age, and because of that, we should constantly be critically thinking about what I'm doing and how it impacts those around me. What I'm doing and whether what I envision for myself in the next 5 or 10 years is something that's beneficial to my society. In terms of challenges, I think the big one is access to resources. I was lucky to be able to experience STEM education in a hands-on way, in a very free-form way, because of my experience with NIHERST. But I know that in the classroom setting, where you have very real mandates like your course outlines, like your syllabus objectives, like the time constraints of the term, it's very difficult to allow kids to just explore and get in touch with the material they're working with. But I think it's very important because the core tenet of STEM is being able to critically think about what you know and how you can apply it, about figuring out complex problems or tackling tasks from a top-down perspective. I definitely do think that this challenge is being tackled more and more by a lot of dedicated people today. I know of many dedicated teachers who have started STEM clubs in their schools, and of course generous funders who have helped fund those projects so that they can get the resources they need, so that kids can have access to all of the hands-on things like robotics kits or STEM learning kits and really explore STEM education rather than learn it. I think the next steps for that would definitely be looking at how STEM education in that format can be tailored to other environments, like schools that are financially very unstable, schools where there are at-risk youth and there may need to be different social interventions to help them engage with the material, and of course schools where they're differently able children and they need special requirements, they have special access needs to actually engage with the material the way other students would. In short, very, very important. Especially because we live in a technological age. I think regardless of what field you're actually in, you need to have a certain sense of STEM literacy. What I mean by that is that the common person really needs to understand what good and bad scientific investigation looks like, what misleading statistics might look like, where there are opportunities for fraud or potential financial scandal on the internet, and what that looks like. So STEM education is very important from that perspective. From the perspective of primary and secondary education, I would say that the main importance lies in the fact that it's just fun, it's just engaging. And especially as our classrooms have to become more active learning centers, have to become more accessible for different types of learners, I think that STEM education is a really great way to get students of all ages to say, that's education, I want to do it. The last reason I think STEM education is important is because it just promotes critical thinking skills across the board. I remember I used to say that the reason I liked STEM education is because it was about 20% content and 80% application. And I think that's definitely a skill that needs to be promoted in society at all levels. In terms of the STEM ecosystem locally, I'd say the main thing is just growth. I know especially in the STEM education sector, there are a lot of dedicated people giving generously of their time and talent so that we can develop as a community in our STEM knowledge. In terms of our country and our region, I think that it is very important that we keep an eye on how the international community deals with developments in STEM, especially in security. So we need to keep an eye on the policies, how they're implemented, and even how in international communities those policies are received, and make our own takeaways so that we can apply all those learnings to our unique culture, our unique environment, our unique country. Well, I'd like to say a huge thank you to NIHERST staff, to the NIHERST team at all levels for everything they bring to the table. I know that my life would have been very different without the opportunities that I got through NIHERST, and I really, really appreciate what they do in STEM education in Trinidad and Tobago. I know that the NIHERST environment has always been very unique. I know that I can still remember instructors' names I've had from camps I've done nearly a decade ago, like Marvin and Chris, and I'm really glad that that sort of friendly, family-like environment is available in the region for other kids like me.